theater. And in Kolkata, we are trying this from 2002. Um, Thanks to Diponda again that I went back. He called me for chief technical director. It's like that. And I was working with lights and sets and everything.
Chandan,
Consecutive.
just to add to that, that actually Subhashi started doing it since 2006 on the first festival we are doing. This is the first time we are collaborating with our mainstream theater friends. That happened during 15th anniversary. That's a big thing for us, which we were always looking for. Being in America, if we cannot collaborate together, join hands together, and we got a common ground to put our hands together. That's the beauty of this event. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to
because I believe until unless you do so, you will be limited into the community theater only. So
exactly.
where while you are in America or Germany or wherever you are, you should be able to perform in the same audience. I'm talking about that American audience. So that is the main purpose of theater because otherwise you are very much limited. Now, Tom, can you just share with us about your thoughts of this festival?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for having me today. I'm Thomas. I'm the director of artistic planning for Rethink Theatrical. And so our theater company's been around for about 7 years now, and we believe really strongly in making sure that we have free and accessible theater to local New Jersey communities. And so we're so excited to be a part of this partnership this year with the South Asian Theater Festival, especially in its 15th year. There's so much wonderful celebration happening. And we believe really strongly in connecting closely with audiences, and especially in theater, we believe really strongly that representation actually is really important. And we're finding specifically frankly, as a white theater company in New Jersey, that partnering with folks like Shubashis, like some other theater companies, to be able to expand our audiences, expand the representation in theater, can only make things richer, more powerful, and be able to share different stories, I think is what it's all about, especially in somewhere like New Jersey, which is a very, very diverse and rich culturally state in the United States. And so we're so excited that we had a chance to be able to partner with Shubashis, with all these wonderful folks to produce one of these plays this fall. And so we're really excited about that, to bring it to the festival.
I have a question. I mean, it's an experience I can share with you and all, because we have a very big festival called sorry, North American Bengali Conference, and I used to the same chief technical director because I used to design the sets and the lights for this huge event. But every time, just because I used to work with the American technicians and other people, so we have a very diverse cultural uh, scenario in India. So I believe that more and more different language. I mean, there is a lot of South Indian people, and Diponda is trying very hard from the day one to bring in different languages. I mean, we have completely 27 different languages in our country, and Diponda is trying very hard to bring them into the same platform. And I believe that you will be very much amazed, and you can develop this whole thing into a very different scenario with these languages and diverse cultural system.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the key to making really beautiful art and stories is to bring in different diverse perspectives. And I think that doesn't always just stop at language or cultural backgrounds. I think that's also artistic backgrounds and disciplines. And so for our play that we did just now, Anansi Story Festival that we're bringing to the festival, we were really interested in not just having a team from different diverse backgrounds of cultures and ethnicities and races, but also in different gender expressions and also in different stories. And also we have dancers and musicians and poets and puppet makers, right? So having this mix of people is helpful in sort of bringing a diverse story to the table.
I believe Subhashish has a lot of things to share.
Yeah, I think that Chandana, you are in somewhere. There is a lot of noise coming from your background.
I am in a restaurant.
Uh,
Sorry.
Okay,
Uh,
Chandan, what you can do, just mute yourself when you are not talking.
I
Then
know, I
probably
know,
the people will
I
be able
know,
to hear
I
better.
know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think on this area, like I can talk about that. I in India, I has exposed with theater practice, which is called Third Theater by Badul Sarkar, which kind of break down the proscenium notion of the fourth wall and try to more directly connect with the audience. So that because of that background, when I came here also, I was always trying to get into a platform where we can practice the similar thing. We can bring the same experience to our audience where they are part of the theater and we can kind of directly connect with them. So where I find that very interesting that I was not very much connected with a lot of mainstream American theater other than proscenium. So when first time I connect with Rethink Theater, I find lot of similarities in the thought process. And I will like Thomas, if you can talk about that total idea of Rethink Theater, because this production is one of the unique way of doing that. But Rethink Theater has a good idea that how they want to see theaters, and this is what I also learn, and I also like that kind of approach to the theater. So, Chandana, what I'll say that Rethink Theater, when I discover Rethink Theater myself first here, it was like surprisingly that, okay, people are around who are thinking same way. It's not just we are getting connected. So maybe I'll ask first Thomas to talk about Rethink Theater idea or approach of theater. That way you'll see that how our culture, our India, when we do the different theaters, it's so similar, though we are so different to spaces. And then maybe Thomas, that Anansi is another different experience on Rethink Theater, the way the theater has been built out. So we can also talk about that, I believe, on that area. So I'm just giving Thomas this time more to talk about his theater, how the practice happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, like I said, we started about 7 years ago at Rethink Theatrical. It's funny. We over the past 7 years, we've gone to really strange and weird spaces. A lot of times, outdoor spaces. We've been spending a lot of time in a garden. For example, it's a 40-acre garden near New Brunswick called the Rutgers Gardens. This past production was at this East Jersey Old Town Village. Excuse my throat this morning. I'm a little stuffed up. We performed at the East Jersey Old Town Village in Piscataway, New Jersey, which is a historic village. So we have a history of performing in these, non-usual spaces, not like a stage or a theater or anything like that. And it actually came from, believe it or not, my colleague Stephanie Van Huss and I got together and said, let's start a theater company, but we had no money because we were in college. And so we said, how can we leverage our friendships? How can we leverage our relationships to create a story, which is what it's all about? And we said, oh, well, we can use this garden space from our friends that we knew, who let us use their space. We asked our friends to volunteer. We found costumes out of old racks, and we recycled big pieces of furniture and stuff like that we found on the street. So we actually created this theater from basically no money. And as a result, we were able to charge nothing for folks to come and actually see our show. And so we were able to create this theater company that's built on a foundation that storytelling doesn't need to cost millions of dollars, and it shouldn't cost the person who's trying to view it hundreds of dollars to come see it. And so how do we create this sort of, we use the word accessible to mean a lot of different things. One of that is financially accessible, so people don't have to pay $30, $40 to come see something. In fact, they can pay nothing to come see it at Rethink Theatrical. And as a result, we're able to try new spaces and get creative, because sometimes when you throw money at a problem, you go, okay, let's get the biggest stage with all the lights, and we don't need to be creative. When in reality, with things like Anansi, you see, like there's in this picture here, we have a mustache on a stick, right? That's not a really expensive prosthetic mustache or anything. We just cut out a piece of paper, put it on a stick, and it works just as well, if not better, to tell stories like that. And so I think one way that we align in our Shubhashish, in the way that we both think about theater, is it feels very democratic. It feels like everyone is welcome. There's no stage that physically elevates the actors above the audience. We're all on the same level. We bring them in closer to the story. They're actually involved in this particular story that was developed. One of the beautiful ideas from the team was to make the audience actually choose their endings and how they actually viewed the story. And so in this Anansi Story Festival, folks have an opportunity at the end to vote whether or not they want the world to be flooded, right? That's the story in there. But the audience gets to choose in one way or the other, and there's two endings, and they get to pick however the story ends, and that's how the actors will kind of end the play there. So again, I think that what I'm hearing, the similarities between both of us is, it is really about the audience deserves to be on the same level as the actors in the story, physically, but also invested in the story and things like that. And so we've always believed that from day one. It came out of a no money thing. We had no money, and so it actually worked out into our favor to say, let's just kind of throw people into some fun spaces, tell some fun stories, and get people all involved and excited about theater and storytelling, not just the actors, but also the audience members as well.
Yeah, but Tom, I want to add something to it, because I want to see this performance in the church, and I was amazed to see when that question threw to the audience, that whether we say water is our life, but are we using water in proper perspective, or we are trying to damage our resources in different ways by polluting water? Sometimes flood can wash us off all the darts and all the pollutions and everything, and bring a fresh new life. So I was surprised to see that children responded to that. Yes, we want. Why we want? Because we want our new life washing all the darts and damages from our life. That was a wonderful concept, and I was amazed to see that children are responding to that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, one of the markers for success for me, for a good story that we've produced, is I can watch kids specifically in the audience tracking, and their eyes are open, and they're understanding, and they're with the story until the end, and they ask questions, and they respond, or they laugh, right? That to me is a very good sign of success for a play, because it says that even children can be engaged and can learn, and they're very smart and they're very perceptive. And sometimes when they're kind of tuning out to a play or a TV show or a movie, it might be because it's not designed for everybody, including children in the audience, to engage and be a part of it. But it's so funny you say that, because so for those at home, as we're hearing, you have these two endings, right? So you can either flood the earth or you don't flood the earth. And most of the time you had no flood. Everyone wanted to rebuild the earth and all this stuff. And that's what I saw. The votes usually went in that direction. But it's so funny at all these performances, there's always these little kids running around. And I said, hey, who did you vote? What did you vote for? I'm curious. And this little girl one day, she goes, I voted to flood the world. She just wanted to start over from scratch. And it was really sweet, because it shows, again, she's tracking with the story. She's having a good time. She has a stake in the ending. She wants to vote for, even though she wants to vote for the whole world to flood. It's still a good sign that she cares about the story, which I think is a good sign of success for any theater production.
The thing is that they are looking
Thomas,
at the present.
okay.
Good, Tom.
No, the Thomas, I'm hearing your story and the way of production. It, do you believe in forum theater by Auguste Boal?
Can you say that one more time? I'm so sorry.
Do you believe in the forum theater by Auguste Boal? Auguste Boal.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with that. I'm sorry.
So Thomas, like Auguste Boal, started a practice of similar kind of theater, where he present a problem as a theatrical play, and then the problem, while it is performed, it stopped by the audience in the middle, switch the characters with the audience characters, and they drive the ending. That whatever initially the actor put a storytelling with the ending, but then the audience allowed to stop it in any point and get involved into that story, and then take it to another directions or another possibilities. So I know that why Chandan said that, because these interactions was there a lot in forum theater.
But yes, because uh, whatever they practice in our country, they have more than 2,700 of centers throughout the country,
Oh,
and now they are going for uh, um, legit theater. That means the people are not aware of our law system, whatever they have the rights. So through that theater, they want to, I mean, people should know that this is my right given by the government and the constitution. So that's why they call it legit theater. So so they are being on throughout the country. Jano Sanskriti, that means
People's culture.
people's culture, people's culture. So that way, but it's funny, that means your flood thing, because in this pandemic, when we were caged, so-called pandemic, I always use you can see the movie pandemic.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's made in the US, so you can watch it. And one film produced by Robert De Niro called The Vexed. So some of our groups, they thought the children are caged inside their home, so they should go to those houses and they will perform so that the child or the children, they can come out with their own ideas. So it is 1 hour to 1 hour, 1 hour and more than 1 hour. They are going to house by house. Sometimes they are going to the communities. So they are just performing the fairy tales, nothing else, the fairy tales. But children, they are making it very contemporary. They are prescribing, no, this is not the story. This should be the story. So when I was hearing your story, I was thinking that it's almost similar, because people are thinking in the same direction, because we want to save the earth. So in Kolkata, in our different parts of the state, people are trying hard to produce theater, to be into theater, to tell a story of everyday life. And I'm really sorry. I'm feeling sorry that I cannot be, I cannot go there and participate with your own theater and everybody's theater, Shubhashish and Diponda. So it's really, I always feel that I should have more money. So I could have gone to uh, French theaters and everything. So you participate into French theaters?
From my perspective,
Yeah,
so I
French festivals.
not typically actually. So again, we're pretty young theater company, and we also, because we don't charge admissions for many things, it's hard for us to generate a lot of funds to create a lot of infrastructure, which is one of the things we're finding is creating theater that doesn't cost a lot ends up having repercussions in the end. But yeah, I think that way of theater that you're talking about is really important, and I think that's one of the values that Anansi's Theater Festival, Story Festival had, which is how do you create a contemporary in order to create a story that is contemporary, that is of the people, that it is participatory in this community that you're serving. It is so important to get folks from that community in the door to create the content itself, right? 2 or 3 years ago, we had a different system at Rethink Theatrical where I was the artistic director and I would make a lot of decisions like that. And it would just be one person, me, who's a white man from New Jersey, making a lot of decisions about let's do this story or that story. And there's nothing wrong with doing that inherently. But the issue is that we're not reaching the audiences of New Jersey, which are very diverse and very different from my own cultural narratives and expressions, right? There are a bunch of white guys in New Jersey and they also like a lot of the stuff that I put out. But that's not enough to create a diverse and communal experience of people that they can feel that they are represented and seen in these narratives. And so one of the missions and the goals of this theater festival that we produced with Shubhashis and the rest of our team was to create a team of folks who are represented in the community around New Jersey. And we made very sure that I had no creative decision-making power during this whole process at all. I helped guide and I helped shape and I helped make sure we got things done on time. But the goal was that team of 7 artists who were from Puerto Rico and Texas and from, their folks are from Latvia and their folks were from all over the globe, Portugal, right? So they had all these different narratives and expressions that they brought together. And there were artists and there were musicians and dancers and all these folks coming in and bringing their ideas together. And it created a story that was, it worked really well. There were beautiful themes. It was different than what anyone had seen before. We would never have seen, we had one story with, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's this urban legend, the Jersey Devil, and he's this devil from the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and he's scaring people since the 1700s. And he's mixed with this chupacabra character, who is this goat-sucking monster from South America, right? These two characters never would have been in the same room together, right? If it weren't for this team building these great stories. And so what I'm hearing from you is, yes, this idea, while we're not formally subscribed to any idea like that, I think it's the same, where it's let's give it up to the people around us to create these narratives and stories, not just in the cast and the designers themselves, but also in the audience who actually comes to see it, and then they have a stake in the story, and we all get to create something sort of collaboratively. But I mean, what you're saying there about that theater style, I think is so important, specifically for doing like real civic action in our communities. I've seen that technique actually used with like police brutality, for example, where folks will pair up police officers and members of the community and have a story together, and they can watch how it ends together collectively. And you've seen bonds created, like really important. This is not just telling fairy tales. This is saving lives and community members by creating stories collectively and together. So I do believe really strongly that can have an actual important impact in our world, not just making stories, which is important in and of itself, but I do think it can have real life implications as well. And so thank you for bringing that up. I think that's great. And I definitely align with that for sure.
Tom, I want to bring another aspect that the stories you are talking about is not only for live or local, it's pretty global. The one episode I have seen on Cuba, that really opened my eyes that we are having this similar situation with our bordering countries. So it's pretty global what you presented over there, and that's another beauty of your stories.
And Deepanda, that's what like one thing what I learned when I was so I'll say so fulfilled with that when I go there, I'm here for long, but we are working with our communities only. We are working with our known people circle only. But when we go there and we meet a lot of people who are in the same community, but coming from diverse background, and when we are talking about our folk tales on the past, talking about, it's so similar. These two countries were so part, 2 or 3 countries, but we have the similar kind of folk tales, telling at the similar kind of either fairy tales or the problems. But these are very similar, only happened on different spaces with different people. But when we get together, we see that it's more universal. And that's where I like the theater that way, Thomas, is that it's not just about a performance. It's creating a process which bond people together. And that bonding happen with the actors, with the participants, and then that's spread with the audience when we involve the audience into that. So it's a bigger bonding which start with the process. And that's where I like that one, that yes, performance is the one of the end goal, but that is not just the end goal. It's the beginning.
I think that's really smart and correct, Shubhashis. I think that's one of the goals that we try to have is to create a very safe and enjoyable environment for people like yourself, like everyone else in your team, to to feel welcome, to feel trusted, to feel like they can be heard, that they can actually participate in this and create decisions. And when you look at that end product, you really do see everyone represented in the story itself, right? You can see the Cuban story, you can see the Jersey Devil, you can see this and that. And it's kind of amazing what happens when you create, to your point, is how you create a process that is truly inclusive, that is truly safe, that truly asks something of the creators. Because then when the audience comes, that they already feel that love and that joy that just is immediately when they step foot into the space, and they that builds trust from the audience, and that means they're going to be so much more excited to join you in the end when you ask them to participate, or all these types of things, right? And so I think you're absolutely right. The process of creating this theater itself is really important. And the other thing I'm thinking of too is, you mentioned Cuba and the sort of global narrative. I mean, to me, when I looked at that story, like I did see us jumping all over the world and stuff, but I really did see this New Jersey community, because I've lived in New Jersey for about 20 years of my life now. And it is a really, truly, there's this diverse group. It's just everywhere you go, you see all these different types of people everywhere, which is beautiful. And I think it was really a celebration of that melting pot of this area of the country specifically. And even some things, we originally said we want you to talk about your cultural narratives, right? That's one of the prompts. And so some folks said, oh, my grandparents are from Cuba, or my grandparents are from Latvia or from Portugal or whatever. And some people said, my culture is New Jersey, and they wanted to talk about a New Jersey urban legend. Or someone says, my culture is that I'm a woman, and so she wanted to talk about a feminist narrative from the Revolutionary War, right? And so it's not always just about race and ethnicity. There are so many types of expression and diversity that we can bring to these productions when you start to think about who people are and how they're made up and what they can bring to the table. And that allows us to show that, like I said, right, this like sort of cross disciplinary, right, multi-dimensional people, so that when a little girl comes, she can see herself in this feminist in the 1700s. Or when someone comes in as an immigrant, maybe they're not even from Cuba, but they can see that story that someone has from the Cuban narrative or whatever, right? We can watch ourselves kind of everywhere, even though it's not technically about us. So I think that's a really beautiful thing as well.
So
I believe it. So, and I believe more and more new cultural ideas will enhance this whole because we have 2,300 different folk culture. 2,300. And more and more you will be finding Cuban different cultures, folk cultures, German, French, Italian, and it is inclusive, and you will bring out a different narrative, different story, different uh, fables. Choosing from fables is very, very interesting. I probably you have heard the name Yevgeny Zvoch.
Mm.
Yevgeny Zvoch, and he has written only three plays. The Dragon is one of the famous play all over the world. People play the dragon and the shadow. As you can remember, uh, uh, one man's shadow has been lost. If you can remember if fable or yeah, the lost. Now that shadow has grown out of that person, and he has taken the decisions by them, by himself. And now this man, he has lost his shadow. Now,
Mm.
it is a very interesting story, but it's from fable. So I believe that if we go to the folk cultures, folk stories, folk lores, we will get more and more very contemporary ideas which can be produced and which can be portrayed in a different manner. Just because you work and Subhashish and Diponda and us also in Kolkata, you work with the people very near to you. I mean, they are not sitting 10 feet away. They are not sitting in a dark place. They are not sitting with a pre-assumption notions that this will happen this way. Suddenly, one actor can go to him or her and say, "What do you think?" And this is he or she can participate. That's why I asked you about this forum theater, because uh, it is the spectator, specto actor, spectators becoming actor. So I believe that this festival, 15th festival, will be remarkable with the collaboration and the ideas and American people. I mean, whoever it is, whoever it is, American people will come and they can, I don't know, sometimes when you are populated with Spanish speaking area, your actors, they, and probably you can speak Spanish. So, so if you present your whole idea with Spanish speaking people to, so they will be elated and they will be related that yes, they are speaking about us. They are just not talking about themselves, that which we want that everybody should speak. So now Deeponda will speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are very correct, and that's the whole idea of doing this collaboration, that will bring diverse community together. Not only, as you mentioned, that we try to initially bring all different states of India together, but now I'm trying to go beyond that, because, as I said, my objective is to go beyond Indian community, go to the South Asian communities, go beyond South Asian communities to other communities in the United States, because this is an unique opportunity. And I feel sometimes from the theater perspective that I'm so lucky and fortunate to being in the United States, because we would not get this kind of opportunity anywhere in the world, having so many diverse communities from rest of the world. So definitely we should make it a universal family, one family, not American, not Indian, not Pakistani. We are one family, global family. And that's theater can bring people together. That's my objective, and I'm getting there. That's all I can tell you.
No, as long as we get more hands like Rethink Theater, Thomas, and the people I saw, the friends whom I worked, they are also connected with a lot of friends. So these hands keep on joining, and we'll see more people. We'll see more people around us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you mentioned to Tom that we are going another collaboration with Shakespeare Theatre Company.
Oh, great. That's
So
wonderful.
yeah, so that will do a production in Stages Festival in New Jersey Theatre Alliance next year. They are celebrating 25th anniversary. So they were telling us that we recently became a member of New Jersey Theatre Alliance, and that's the
Great.
one good thing happened with Epic Actors Workshop during the pandemic. I was really not expecting that we are not doing anything at this time for last year and a half, and suddenly they invited us. We are inviting you to be our affiliate member, and
That's great.
the we started working together, and then more and more we are getting working with them, getting more resources, more connections, and maybe we all work together one day as we are expanding our opportunities.
Dipanda, I think that we have to let Tom go now. He's
Okay,
late.
now,
But
yeah, absolutely, but
thank you for being with us. Thank you for staying. I'm sure this is just a start. This is just a beginning.
Yeah, I just thank you all so much. I really appreciate this. I just want to echo what you're saying here about how I really do think theater does have the potential to bring people closer together and to do real change. I think it has. I think this event is an indicator of that. And I think you all should be so proud of this work. And yes, I agree, Shubhashis. I think this is the beginning of a longer friendship and partnership. So thank you all so much. I really do appreciate you inviting me to this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
We'll see you at the
Thank you.
festival. Bye-bye.
Not me. I envy you.
So
Bolo.